laid a wreath. Well, I'm Robin Kerno, and we will continue to cover the U.S. President's historic trip. But in the meantime, I want to bring in a man called James Williams. He's standing here with me, and you are the president of Engage Cuba. What exactly is that?
Well, thank you first for having me. Engage Cuba is the leading umbrella coalition of private sector companies, trade associations, and nonprofit groups working to lift the embargo in the United States.
Okay, and so how is this all very much part of a huge lobby to try and get Congress to change its mind? How are you going to do that?
Absolutely. So it's both major Fortune 500 companies as well as advocacy groups, special interest groups from, Cuban American organizations to Latino organizations to think tanks who all think for various reasons, from right to left, from business to human rights, that the policy needs to change. So we're working both at the states, going into home districts and talking about the benefits to each individual state and district of why this needs to change, but also the broader regional and national interest for it.
Okay, so it sounds good, and it's obviously a lot of politics at work here. How optimistic are you that you're going to actually make a dent in a Congress that really hasn't been very flexible?
Actually, we're really optimistic, because if you looked at what happened on December 17, 2014, when President Obama and Castro made these announcements, to where we are today, we now have close to 50 senators on the bill to lift the travel ban in the United States Congress and the Senate. We have over 30 Republicans on a Cuba bill in the House, and we've locked in virtually every Democrat in both bodies, outside of Senator Menendez and one or two others. So we actually have made tremendous progress, and we actually think this could be the year, particularly around the travel ban, that we make real progress there as well.
In terms of the entire embargo, how does that get repealed? I spoke to the Commerce Secretary yesterday, and she said, listen, it's not going to happen overnight, and I tried to push her on a time frame. She also couldn't quite give that. I mean, can you give
we're talking about a body that can't even agree to keep the lights on, so yes. There's a lot of dysfunction generally, and I think Cuba is just one piece of that.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to happen piecemeal. I think travel will happen first. There's a bill around helping agricultural exports, which will probably happen in a similar time frame, and then the embargo will probably happen second after that. And so I think this trip, depending on how it goes, could be a real shot in the arm to the timeline of how quickly this moves. And I think people won't feel the full ramifications of this trip until it's after it's over.
And that's why the entourage, the delegations that have accompanied this president are as perhaps much as important, or as these powerful images that we've been seeing of the president in Cuba.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a big part of it. I mean, you look at the president's foreign policy, some of his legacy issues around the world and his opinion in the Republican Party, and you look at Iran, some of these other things, and you compare that to where things are in Cuba. I mean, it really is. This is one of the most popular issues in the United States. Talking about 80% of the American people supporting this. And so the more we feel strongly that the more people talk about it, the more people are paying attention to it, the more likely we are to move it faster. And this, I mean, there's no way to move it any quicker and draw more attention than the President of the United States being here in Cuba.
So what is, with the delegation that you're traveling with and the people that you are speaking to, what is the one main issue that they think really needs to go? When you're talking about piecemeal and you're talking about defanging the embargo, besides travel, what is it?
Well, I mean, I think it's broadly, on the U.S. side, it's opening up commerce much more openly so we can have a better free exchange of ideas. I think one thing is clear, and this is why I love this issue, because we don't have to debate the hypotheticals. We've had 55 years of one policy where it just hasn't worked. We know there's failure, so we don't have to debate, should we keep the embargo, should we not? We know, objectively, something has to change. And so I think everyone here is seeing the power of commerce, the power of people-to-people engagement as being at least our best hope for a change in the policy moving forward, and hopefully a change for a better future for Cuba. And that's really, at the end of the day, what's most important.
Absolutely. James Williams from Engage Cuba.